Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PPL. You're here with none other than the Party Boys getting it started. Rain Dan Gormizer here. William Newberry, Evan Rayner. How are you doing today, Gore? Because, you're hanging out with me to start things off today.
I'm doing pretty good. The tacos you had
pretty
smelled.
good?
Yeah, pretty good. The tacos you had smelled really good. I think that kind of that gave me that extra energy, right?
That's true. Those tacos were delicious.
They really smelled delicious.
They smell delicious. They
kind
taste
of made
delicious.
me jealous.
I've got actual energy. You've
I
got
didn't have
phantom
that.
energy because
Phantom
of
energy.
smelling and pretending that you maybe ate those tacos and enjoyed them. The smell continues. You see him just wafting in the air. And as a fan who has been to DreamHack, you know certain smells waft in the air there as well. Maybe not as good as tacos. Definitely not a lot of showers going on in that one. But there is a lot of gaming and a lot of championships now with Paladins World Championship, the Smite World Championship, November 16th through 18th, HighResExpo.com is where you want to grab your tickets now, HighResExpo.com. Today we've got a day of North America in the PPL. We had Europe yesterday. Fnatic have clinched their spot in the LAN, and now G2 Esports have also clinched their spot in the LAN, and it's up to the two seeds to try and make a run for it. As you see, NIP trying to get there against Na'Vi, and Team Envy trying to hold on with a game in hand against the Renegades. If Envy were to get this win, it would put them at 5-2. Now, if they play Renegades, which they do later in the week, it would put both, if Renegades were to win, at 5-3, thus sending it to map differential. And if then potentially head-to-head over the course of the season. Here is your schedule for today. Envy, they've got a relatively, one would assume, easier one against SK Gaming, who have been out of form. And G2 Esports have one, which, again, should be relatively easy, considering they have been so in form against Splice. It's going to be an exciting one, and again, this is a must-win for Envy fans, and if you are a fan of Rock and Rubu and Tolki, Random Noob, all of these guys, Mr. Hayes, who have been around competing and making waves for North America at LANs, you know that this game means everything today.
It's in that area where you're in that pressured situation, right? Where you're like, okay, we have to win this one.
We have to win, yeah.
At least to make sure we are comfortable and, going into the next one that maybe we have a better map differential. We can kind of assume that going on because we've got maybe a couple more 3-0s overall. But if you lose this one, not only are you losing to SK, but you're also losing a very big lead that you would have over Renegades.
And it also needs to be a 3-0. Let's talk about that, Gore. It has to be a 3-0 because the map differential is going to come into play if Renegades win. So to give yourself the best chances, Envy, you need to make sure you do not let SK take a map. Now, here's the thing. Shady Shades, SK, they've been playing and not really hitting form. So the question is, when will they? And that's always a scary proposition with a guy with this much talent, a team with this much veteranship comes to play. You got to expect one game they're going to give it to you.
And honestly, with the way things were going, the last time these two teams played, he was a real big factor. It was him, a little bit of Invocal as well. I'd say maybe a lot of bit of Invocal as well. But everything that has been going through this team, when they are prepared, when SK is ready, they are able to take games off of the top, and that was exactly what happened the last time these two came up against each other. Even though Envy was able to find the reverse sweep, they weren't comfortable after the first two games.
Yeah, and I think comfort is another thing that we have to talk about here. I don't know if SK are comfortable. I honestly don't know if Envy are comfortable. We did have a chance earlier this week to talk a little bit with Envy about this pregame, what it means to them, and how they've been able to take the pressure that's been on, having a couple of losses at the early start, obviously not beating G2 in any of those situations, and how they've been able to bounce back and then set their sights for LAN. We have Tolki on the docket to talk to us a little bit about how he's feeling going into this matchup today.
Thanks, guys. Sitting here with young Tolki from Envy, the team hot on the tails of G2, trying to qualify that number 2 spot. And Tolki, how has it been for you guys as a new team and now to sort of come in, you're starting to qualify, but you can only make it if you're top 2. What is that pressure like heading into week number 5?
That's a lot of pressure, honestly. Coming in, you only get pretty much 2 mistakes.
Right.
And that 2 mistakes is losing the G2 twice. You lose to anyone else, your top 2 on the line is really, really going to be cutting it close, like it did last season, or last split. We lost once to Renegades, and we won by 2 map differential to qualify for both Vegas and Atlanta line. Obviously, we're not trying to aim for that. We're going to try to just get a quick, clean sweep for both week 4 and week 5 and just secure that top 2 spot.
So talk to me a little bit about what happened last time you guys played against G2. Normally it's a great show. We had Aggro come in to cast that one. I'm like, listen, this is going to be a 5-game set. This is normally very competitive. But you guys, you just got had in that one. What went wrong?
I think that was just a pretty bad day from us, but not also to give credit to G2. They played amazing that day. They came in with good drafts and they came in with good team coordination as well. And simply put, we just got outplayed in every simple situation. But I also do feel like that day was also pretty off because in the same day we also had to face SK and that took us to 5 games.
Sure. What would you consider the Team Envious dynamic like? Is it more of a family, or would you guys say it's more, handling business, so to speak?
Oh, we're all really close to each other, as you can see it like lands. We're very close friends with each other, so we're kind of like family as well. So I think.
Would you say that has any influence on say if someone's making a mistake, or if you truly believe someone's doing something wrong, or you would like to see something change? Does being so close make you have any hesitations or reservations about wanting to sit down and talk, or does that just make it all the more easier to have that open dialogue?
Honestly, it makes it easier because we have a policy in our own team where we're just like, hey, let's just be honest with each other. Let's not sugarcoat. Sugarcoating is just gonna honestly add just like 2 more hours of discussion saying what's the actual point. Just get to the point and let's be honest with each other. Obviously, it has to be constructive criticism. It can't be, hey, you suck. Right? It has to be, hey, why do I suck, right? What did I make? What mistakes did I make? So it's just going to be constructive criticism and honesty. It just makes things faster and easier to deal with.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us, Tolki, and good luck in your games today, brother.
Thank you.
I just love Tolki interviews because that's what he strikes me as, a very honest, candid person. He doesn't really sugarcoat much of his conversation. He tells you as it is. He answers the question the way that you asked. And I think that's a really solid, I would say, addendum to a squad that already has a repertoire and a resume of extremely excellent players and achievements thus far heading into this game.
And honestly, the way they said their team dynamic is, it sounds like a really good environment to be in, because one of the things, we were even actually talking about this earlier in the green room, is you can play with friends, you can play to win. Sometimes you can accomplish both, but sometimes you need someone. And in this case, I would kind of look at Meta Pusher kind of being like the hard ass, I guess, of everybody, to be like, look, you need to crack down. This was a mistake you made. You can't do that again.
Yeah.
But having that honesty with everyone else, like, man, on that point, I really wish, you needed to have my back there. You didn't. I don't remember exactly what the comms were, but this is the next time I'm going to make the call out like this, and that's when you need to do this kind of deal.
It's important. It's important to be able to speak candidly with your teammates. Yeah. I know that from experience. I know that these guys understand the value and the levity of, or the gravity of kind of the situation that they're in. A must-win here heading into the maps for this first set. It's going to be, obviously, SK trying to bounce back from a rough season. And Envy trying to continue to make every land so far in that number 2 spot, coming from, let's not forget, a number 4-5 team before Rubu and Rock Monkey were added to this squad, before Tolki and Random Noob and Mr. Hayes stepped up in this huge way, before, really they took ownership of being able to really be a number 1, number 2 team in terms of land performance. And so they're doing everything to get back in here with a Makoa band to start out for SK.
And honestly, this is a map, I think I've seen both of these teams have some success. This is actually one of the ones that SK made Envy look like old Envy, I want to say, with the way things were going. This is where one Drogos could make the big difference. And so my question for them is, this time around, is it worth the ban, or is it worth trying to counterpick? Do you leave something open that they want, or do you just hope that you can try to deal with it?
It's a good question.
They're going to ban it.
I think if you're SK, you just have to get something that's comfortable, and you have to be able to play what you draft excellently, no matter what you're looking for. Whether you're taking something away, cool, but what you get in response has to serve you well. And if they can't, then this is going to be a rough one. Envy are so good in the draft. SK have to be very careful about buying into first pick Cassies, things that are really predictable, right? Because SK or Envy may come out and punish them later on with some picks.
Cassie coming up. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see Envy go, the Bomb King and maybe a Leon, something to maybe fight for that. Terminus is an equal pick who actually
was not seen yesterday in Europe at all.
Fell off,
and he was open
for a little bit.
Yeah, people just didn't pick him in Europe yesterday. They just went with Barrick, and this is such a thing where Thiel said it perfectly. The best team sets the meta. Thiel performs masterfully in that spring finals with the Barrick, the solo Barrick on Fish Market. They don't end up winning the Masters, but everyone says, whoa, Barrick can actually do things. I thought he sucked. He could do things. And now Barrick is being picked over Terminus. It's wild. It's maybe statistically incorrect, but it works for these guys in the way that they're trying to play.
And it feels
in EU.
Yeah, a lot more like a EU kind of style. I think Terminus fits Envy very well. It fits North America very well as well, but I think Envy have figured out exactly how to play it. And they have this flexibility where Rubu and Tolki can both pilot it, so if they want to go for a double frontline, they are always able to swing that. And I mean, last week they were able to get top damage on top of this. I think it was Tolki on Terminus who was at the top, and then Rubu was number 2 with the Ashe. So that is something that can be just as deadly.
Interesting here, are they going for the Zen? This, to me, positions towards a unique triple DPS opportunity here, because you can obviously look at Random Noob, right, on this Bomb King. You look at Rock Monkey on the Zen, and now I think you're picking for Tolki, who can flex potentially, but Tolki is actually on this Terminus, I would assume. So it's going to be interesting to see how they ended up flexing, because you could see a Leon coming out here as well with a Death and Taxes to really support this lineup, or something like a Fernando. And there it is.
I actually like the way they did this, because you leave that last pick open,
Yeah.
and Terminus is so ambiguous for them, because like, okay, we have 2 players guaranteed who play this well.
Yeah.
So you don't know if we're going double or triple DPS. And then it's like, okay, well, we're going to grab Fernando, which Rubu plays as though it's a DPS anyway, so you
Exactly.
pretty much have all the damage you need.
And I mean, the Maeve, the Strix, the Cassie, there's a lot of damage on the side of SK, but do they have enough to get the job done against Envy?
Only one way to find out, everybody. But let's Tigers here with Pretty Hair. How are you feeling about these drafts?
I'm feeling good because Envy seems like they have learned their lesson against Invocal's Drogos on Splitstone Quarry, and they've banded out, and I think it's going to be much harder for him to take over the game, and it will have to be somebody else.
Because that's what ended up happening last time when we saw it go to Game 5. It was, oh, here's this Drogos that's getting to do whatever he wants for the first part of the game on Splitstone and things like that. But not available this time around, so let's find out what happens between SK and Envy. SK been having a rocky old time and looking to continue proving themselves.
We got to figure out who else can carry a game for SK. Is Shady Shades, can he step up and be that, force that Invocal has shown himself able to be? Will Bitey finally solidify himself in a DPS role or continue to flex back and forth? Will he take over the game as Strix? We know he loves the character. Invocal, I haven't seen a lot of his Maeve, if I'm being honest, so that's maybe another sleeper pick for him.
And we get to see Bitey on the Strix right now. On the opposite side, a lot of the things you would expect from these players, Tolki is going to be here on the Terminus because Rubu gets his good old Nando. But let's see how things go down, shaking out in the first portion of the game, early rotation. And with the front line like this, you can't afford to be fairly aggressive with that Nando and then some of the other units that you have to.
Great job bouncing in and out of the power siphon there for Tolki, putting a little bit of pressure on a Bitey. I don't know if Random Noob knows how low James Tiberius Strix is on the high ground. No one pursuing him just yet. Rock Monkey has been fairly passive with his flanking routes and positionings as well. Just looking for those Yomi poke strikes. It's going to be enough for Rubu to clean up first blood.
Just everything's been smooth sailing right now for Envy. With Tolki right there on the Terminus, on the objective. No one's able to contest it just yet, even with a bit of that passive play from Rock Monkey on the opposite end. Finally starting to get to the low after taking some shots for himself, but SK waiting for their opportunity to break in. You see Wi-Fi fallen really below in HP, puts up the wall as an attempt to protect, but it's not enough against Random Noob.
And Gabriella, that was his first time showing presence on the point, so that's a 100-0 capture for SK, or for Envy, excuse me, on SK's map, Splitstone Quarry, as they continue to just obliterate their counterparts left, right, and center.
It's one thing if you wait a bit so that you have a bit more of an opening after getting a pick on the enemy team, but then I feel like that never really happened, so they thought, oh, well, we have to go contest this somehow, even if it is a little late. So, therefore, no actual impact. It was kind of just that last string effort to keep things going. And Envy, it's not even a bloody battle or anything.
Yeah.
They just all positioned effectively where no one really had to put a lot of work individually.
And the funny thing about this Team Envious composition and the way that they played that first fight, specifically kind of Rock Monkey where he chose to just sit and sort of be a little bit passive, is that normally with this comp like SK have, you've got a Maeve, you've got a Genos, you've got things that allow your team to be very spread out, be kind of all over the map, and pressure the high ground where Bitey was. But the thing of it, Gabby, is that no one from Envy was up there. That's a very rare thing, that you don't have a Shaolin, you don't have a Leon, you don't have any type of sniper up on that high ground to pressure out. And you could see that SK just maybe didn't know what to do with their hands, so to speak.
And right now, Wardoom gets the ultimate off to clip off Rock Monkey. But for a while, Envy, they were just pursuing individual by individual onto SK. You saw Shady Shades was on the low. They locked him down. 2 were in the side corridor. They got him. Shady Shades once again gets picked off by Rubu. And in Vocal, there's just too much coming from that entryway for him and his small little Maeve body to be able to hold against.
They look lost, Gabby. I mean,
Yeah.
they look completely lost there. They lose Shady, and then the seismic crash comes out a couple of seconds after to try and peel for him, and then Invocal comes rotating and gets picked off. Meanwhile, Bitey is pushed out further than almost anyone on the team, and he gets just shot in the back of the head after what you would imagine have been a communicated assault, right? You know, we've got 4 people coming up from kind of the back line here. Bitey, you're probably in some trouble here, or I don't know. Looking a little lost today.
0-5 for Shady Shades as well. Even just in that last, let's say, 30%, 40% of that push, you saw him get picked off, and then basically the majority of the time until the next pickoff was the spawn timer. So Team Envy just have been locking him down consistently, and I feel like it doesn't feel like there's much of a game plan from SK right now once the capture went through.
And, you know, they have power picks. Cassie is pretty much Shady Shade's best character. James Tiberius Strix has always been one near and dear to Bitey's heart, though he doesn't play it too often. And then Vocal, haven't seen a lot of the Mave from him, but that's such a power pick in the PPL. It's one that you definitely have to have on hand. Genos and Nara as well. Great things all around for SK Gaming, but just unable to figure out what to do with it.
Speaking of power picks, though, Random Noob on the Bomb King. That's not a new story for anyone that's been watching the PPL for a long time. Bitey does pick one up onto Tolki, but Rock Monkey throws it back onto Invocal. The reanimate to bring Tolki back into it. Doesn't even pay any consequence. Rotates back towards the objective. And even with those picks, SK got no impact on the points.
Rock Monkey ulted onto the high ground to Bruiser Buddy, who is just kind of rotating away. He's going to continue to find shots onto Tolki. Rock could be in some trouble here as he's getting rotated in on by a couple of members here. He has his billow, but he's billowing straight into Bitey. Don't know if Bitey is aware of this. Rock certainly is. He's going to go in for the combo. He dodges the flashbang and hits him with the final strike for the kill, but loses his life in the process.
But still at least able to get the pick beforehand. SK are 2 down within their composition while Envy ready to collapse. And Vocal takes to the high ground for a little bit of protection, but not enough before he gets clipped. There's it through time and space. Doesn't get the kill this time around, but nonetheless, Envy still on the point. A King Bomb to try and dissuade anyone who attempts to venture on forward.
And it is going to be good for the kill on the Shady Shades, though they do trade. Rock has found Bitey once more. He whirls out of the Void Grip. Final strike won't be good onto Bitey. Wi-Fi doing his damnedest. Gabriella Red is surrounding him, and the Noose Titans even tighter.
Similar situation. You see Wi-Fi come in, a last attempt to touch onto the point, and everybody just turned to him and said, nope, not today. There's actually the spike to go and reposition, gets gripped up. But it's Envy's point once more. 3-0 right now, 1 point away from taking game 1 on SK's map pick. But it just feels like it was gloomy from the start. You know when you can kind of feel the vibe from the team?
And, you know, a big thing that I think Envy are doing, or rather something that is benefiting them, is preventing this Mave from sort of going off. They have 2 frontliners, Fernando and Terminus, that you would typically see be hard countered by the Street Justice pick, because she can get all of her damage through both the shield and the power siphon. However, I feel due to the closeness that Envy are playing this composition, they're never really out of arm's reach, so to speak. It's very difficult for this Mave to get any poke onto anyone realistically where she will be able to kill one of these frontliners, because everyone else is so close and able to either provide aid in the way of healing and peel, or the fact that they can just do damage to her to scare her off.
A lot of times when they've been fighting, she's been in these enclosed spaces where you can't use that mobility to your full advantage, only to duck away in certain times to heal up, but then in that time, your enemy is doing the same exact thing.
It's this, Gabby. It's double defensive dashes for Invocal for the greater part of this game, and you may as well not have a talent at that point if you've picked Street Justice.
1 minute on the clock to go. Random Noob, another double kill for him. And SK Gaming, they've just got their frontliner. Is gonna have to hop down at one point, but look at where Rugu is. He's just in front. He's ready to take on anyone that appears. A King Bomb wound on up, gets the Snowball, attempts to do so. 48 seconds to go, takes down the Bomb King, and SK Gaming maybe can go ahead and hold this, but it's going to be really difficult with the ultimates in use. There's a spite onto Wardoom, take out that sustain. Shady Shades get the double kill, but here's the reanimate to throw it back. And with that elimination off of the ultimate, a nice capture and game conclusion for Envy.
That sucks. That one hurts. You know, Shady starts to get a couple of kills there, get things going. That should have been a stabilized fight for SK Gaming, but that big reanimate there. No one can get close enough to the payload. Tolki pushes it through.
It looked for a moment, for just a moment, they're going to push it to another round. But even if they did, I feel like their pressure in that earlier portion of the fight just wasn't doing it, and they would have had to turn something completely around anyway, and had just used the Seismic Crash, and had just used some ultimates. So, I don't know. SK is going to have to really collect themselves before going into the next game.
That was a rough one. I mean, the way that MB played that, I really felt helped to shut down what was a fairly solid composition from SK Gaming.
But that's it for game number 1. Let's throw it to the desk to break it down.
Thanks, guys. Well, of course, things go the way of Envy. We would expect nonetheless. I mean, it's a must-win for them. SK just fighting for pride at this point. But they take it so convincingly that it does make you wonder if, how much they came to work here. This is like a guy who's, needs the, hey, can you get this nail for me, honey? I got just a nail in the thing, and he brings like a sledgehammer, and he's like, oh, we're getting this nail, baby, and he brings it all the way. It's like, wow, okay, babe, just
a hammer.
You know what? Next
Regular
time,
hammer.
I got it next time. Don't worry. Yeah, you're good. Thank you, though.
It was one of those things, and I think, we kind of saw this yesterday with Fnatic versus Virtus Pro. There's a certain extent where your composition can be perfect for you and for your team,
yeah,
but there's going to be a mechanical skill gap, and right now, Envy are on the rise. They have been on the rise this entire time, maybe kind of going up to the top. They hit a peak in Vegas, and then they are maybe a step down from right then.
Right.
But everything since then has been like, okay, how do we keep playing this consistently well? And so far, they've been able to do it while expanding their champion pool.
And the bigger question that you brought up the start of that then leads us over the rainbow here to the ending where hopefully it's a pot of gold for them is, can they get back to the Vegas form? Can they get back to that form where even Fnatic were trembling, quaking, shivering in their boots because they had no idea how to handle this meta that Envy had adopted and stuck with and believed in? At this point, you would assume that metas have almost evened out, but with Furia coming in, there's this whole new opportunity at LAN, I think, as we head into the maps after this replay and get going into Game 2, that, there's still that opportunity of a surprise factor for Envy to take on.
And honestly, after you mentioned Furia, I think there's like 3 people on Envy I would love to be able to see, just watch play Furia. Because she's in that area of, if you want to, maybe main supporter.
Yeah.
But you could also kind of off-support, similar to what we've seen in the past with some of these, where it's a good amount of damage. And that's where I think things, you'll see Tolki, Random Noob, or Rock Monkey come in, being able to kind of pilot things like that. With the way things are going, I don't think it's going to be a hard pickup for them, especially with how flexible they've been so far.
It feels like nothing's hard about this set except the brick walls of Jaguar Falls there. I don't see anything too difficult as long as they keep playing their way. And SK just doing their best to battle back what is a very difficult situation against a top 2, top 3, top 4 team in the world based on their LAN representation over the last couple of months here. Buck banned out here from Envy, and then Makoa, and as a response from SK, same first ban Makoa for both games.
Not going to be going for the Jogos this time around. Buck, Khan, going to be the choices. And I actually like that a lot because this gives you the flexibility. I mean, Random
You
Noob
like your nodding.
has
You seem
a
like you
great-
like
Oh,
it.
yeah, no, the music's bumping.
Oh, I thought you liked the draft.
I like the draft, too.
Yeah, it was a good draft.
Hey, there's Jogos. That's
So-
what I was going to say. I was leading up to, you can go Jogos or whatever.
And then you got Khan here. I thought we were going to do the Night of the Roxbury together, This is why we're the party boys. We can't stop. We can't stop.
Can't
Have
stop,
to have
won't
fun.
stop.
Well, you put a good beat on. I mean, we won't. We won't
yeah.
stop.
That's actually how it
Production
gets rolling.
knows we're actually really predictable in terms of our actions. Put a good beat on, and we will start dancing. It's just that's what has to
That's
happen. here.
90% of how they get those videos for Esports Weekly is like, all right, if we put Gore alone in the room and just play music for him.
We have the contract. We actually have to do it. Otherwise, not enough content there for the top fails, apparently, in the week. Fernando and Maldama and Zen taken here from SK Gaming, and I think Gore's still feeling it as well. I like the little... You got a lot of chin. You got a lot of chin in yours, I like it. And just the straight eyes, the serious face. Man, look at that movement. I'm more concerned about you than this draft. I'm not going to lie. Barrack here, Shaolin taken. And shaking and baking. Leon here. She is absolutely rounding out this SK lineup for enough damage for sure. I mean, you got these two deadly duo sisters here with these incredible damaging weapons. A lot of presence on the fight, literally. And Zen here as well with the Flaming Sword versus, though, a very formidable lineup in what is pretty much considered maybe the top damaging champion in the game right now, Drogos, the Shaolin. And then going back to that triple DPS nature, but making Barrick more of the fat flanker that's going to run that pseudo DPS, or Fernando, pseudo DPS pressure point outside of a traditional damage champion. How do you feel about these drafts?
Honestly, I'm liking Envy's a little bit more. Again, I'm looking at what Europe is pulling in and what they're making work out, and that is, so far, Barrick. Being able to pull him in as like kind of that off-tank has made the big difference. And then you have Fernando. So a lot of really strong damage right there. Terminus should have a good fight on the point, but ultimately I think Envy have a better point control.
Well, let's see if Envy can control their destiny and take Game 2 here in this set versus SK, and see if they can mark their tickets on the way to the LAN.
So do you have a lot of chin in your movements?
It reminds me of, like, you ever seen the gifs of, like, when people pick up a chicken, how the chickens have, like, that, like, gyro reflex, like, their head can, like, track an object, like, no matter where you move their body. I bet if we, like, pick Gore up, he could probably do the same thing.
Yeah, he just, like, moves it all around. Props to Gore. You know, that's where we need to get the dance lessons from.
A lot of chin. I love that. That's a great way.
It's no longer about throwing your hips into it. It's about throwing your chin into it. But
he's blazing a trail.
Yeah. I wonder if, like, so you're at the LAN, right? And you know how in football, so if you have victory dances.
Yeah.
Do we just have a Gore lesson session?
A chintage.
Yeah, so whoever wins, it's like you have to start putting on the ultimate victory dance. And he can teach you the way.
That's a big ass, Gabriella. An even bigger ass than winning the Summer LAN, some might say.
Maybe so, maybe so. But Envy is still trying to secure their spot at the Summer LAN. So very important set for them. But looking pretty unquestionable so far. Very different from last time around they faced off against SK.
Double record comes out early on. That's because of kinetics and death and taxes. But even so, that's a lot of, I feel, healing that's just going to make it through Gabby behind these shields, behind lines of sights, because it's Genos. Envy will have a lot of effective HP, I feel like, to work with early on in these rounds. And of course, they do have Jorgos, who I believe this is his strongest map and one of the strongest blasters in North America currently piloting it.
And if they work as quickly as they did in game number 1 early on is all they need. There's the double kill for Rock Monkey. So when you don't have that pressure from SK and you're already taking out the Xin, who's the one that's really going to be looking for those key targets, you're at 42% onto the objective. Rock Monkey, we do love seeing him on the Shaolin, and when you just post him up right here where he doesn't really have to worry about where SK is because you got those early picks, then it just makes it much easier for the rest of the team to focus.
Trying to get their way in here. SK Gaming only 3% on this objective. Gabby, probably only something like less than 10% of all objectives captured so far across these couple of games here. Envious, total control of both Splitstone, Quarry, and now it appears Jaguar Falls.
Nice hit onto Wi-Fi. This time SK, they do it 12%, but even though it's a change from Menard to Terminus, similar situation where Wi-Fi couldn't make his way through until around that 99% mark. And when you can't make a single step until that point, then that one pick that they got on you becomes more important than if they picked you 2 or 3 times in the beginning.
SK seizing back control of the objective here. Rock Monkey goes down. I thought he would have had a shimmer or something up why he was playing so aggressive, but he doesn't get the reset on his movement ability. He goes down for it. 99% for Envy. SK for the first time. Starting to get some objective control. Shady Shades with an early enlightenment will be good for a kill on a random noob.
It's nice when you have that big old area that you can hit with that enlightenment. 90% for SK Gaming. And Bitey's looking for his poke, finds a bit of shield damage onto Rubu, but gets clipped right from behind. Rock Monkey, 99 on both sides. Wardoom attempting to have those stuns come out from afar. A nice kill right there, but SK, they lose 4, and Team Envy take the points.
Big frags here from
Triple
Rock Monkey.
kill.
He finds 3. How many is that at this point? He's picked up multiple kills elsewhere in the fight. He gets a very early heat haze off. Rock finds his 6th frag of the game. 1 death and 2 assists to his name.
This was just 3 minutes into it. 1 point has gone by, and Rock Monkey is 6-1-2. He makes it look so easy, but it's also that teamwork aspect when you have Rubu as far out in front as he's been able to. A few ultimates online for them as well, basically 4 at this point. You're 50% with this push, and the SK Gaming are backed off of this objective.
It's very close to you know, a stellar performance here for Rock Monkey already out of the gate. It's one of his power picks as well, the Shaolin. Envy like to say just get Rock on a bow and, you know, you'll be good to go. Dragon Punch here, doesn't like what he sees. Noob's going to call it off. Hit the skybox, in fact. He gets so high off the ground. The salvo is good for a kill, so when it's all said and done, you know, he gets the 1 for 0.
Yeah.
Casts his Dragon Punch, didn't really have anything to do with it, but there you go.
A very interesting angle. He was able to come to the sky and then get that clip where Shady Shades was attempting to hide. Rock Monkey and Rubu there to clean up in the end. Tolki even picking one up. So Team Envy get their second points. And boy, oh boy, are they looking good. Shady Shades, nice moment right there, though, when you're able to just track him in the air. You got to be able to land that.
Good old 1v1 there, and that's a matchup that Shady should win most of the time. But it is Fusillade Drogos, it is Jaguar Falls, it was a close quarter engagement, so popping the Enlightenment there is totally okay. Anytime you can confirm a killing blow with Enlightenment, you may as well do it. I mean, you get damage immunity, you become the worst target on the battlefield, and you get yourself back to 50% charge. As a result, Shady is ready to go on the next one.
Yeah, it wasn't far into the push that he had gotten that one back, and a little bit more itemization coming online thanks to the fact that that point fight did go a bit longer, so it wasn't completely in a place where SK ended the round without getting tier 2 on anything. But still, maybe they're going to have to bust out a lot of these ultimates if they want to keep themselves in the fight, especially with comeback mechanic in their favor. Random Noob not getting contested just yet from that side and is going to rotate around. Shady Shades pushed away from the fight. When all you got is a Nano Shield to shoot into, it's difficult to make that impact that you need. Dread Serpent and Dome Shield over on the objective.
They forced that Dome Shield out, but it looks like Tolki was able to weasel his way out of that. Rock Monkey not so lucky. He falls in the back line. Tolki has stopped the bleeding on this objective very, very effectively so far. The Spite will come out, but not enough to take down the Bear.
Oh no, and with that, Team Envy, they still end up having 4 people up right now. Invocal and Shady Shades, they do pick up a couple of kills. Invocal with the double kill right now. Suddenly, most of the team is gone except for Rock Monkey, a final hit. And that situation kind of sucks. Shady Shade used the Enlightenment to try and secure. The kill happened before it was actually able to pop off. But in the end, this 97, there's your capture, because you really just need that one good team fight.
Could have been cleaner, sure, but SK, I'm sure, just happy to grab a payload in this engagement. He's going to be void gripped up. Bitey. Billows out. Not sure if he wants to completely leave this positioning here, though, first. He's got Yomi, so he will be able to cleave through all of these targets up on the high ground. He's finding turrets. He's finding Shaolin's, barracks. Here comes the Dragon Punch. But again, Random Noob will call it off. He's had a rough game so far. He was almost at the bottom of the damage charts here on one of Drogos' best maps, but I don't know. A lid has definitely been put on him. I don't know if that's Shady. I don't know if that's Shady and Invocal working together. But Paulie needs to find some more traction for sure.
Yeah, I've seen a couple times where he's gotten picked, but sometimes it just has been feeling a little awkward with his movement or not knowing exactly where he should collapse upon. About 45% on this push right now. They lose Shady Shades in that engagement, and Invocal taking to this angle, trying to punish Envy on that defense, but they've managed to push past that archway, which makes for a very different situation than in round number 1 when SK was unable to do so.
And Random will fall again there as he tries to retreat from that objective. Part of that lack of damage is going to stem from none of his Dragon Punches connecting so far. You know, that's a couple free 1,000 or 2, even 3, 4,000 damage, depending on the target you hit, how much HP they've got left. And he's had to call both of those off so far. There's so many threats. People that are hard to dive as well. You never really, it's hard to keep track of Enlightenment's charge because sometimes it's being reset to 50%, sometimes it isn't. It's a really difficult thing to track and counterplay.
We've seen, just like in game number 1, there have been a few situations where Shady Shades has gotten focused down here in game number 2. And you notice that Rock Monkey got a few shots from afar. Ruber was there to get the last tick of damage needed to take him out. And that's happened in a couple of situations here. So if you don't have that individual to shut down the rest of the team, and then you're not getting some of those ults off, then it can be very difficult. We're in the final 25, though.
In my opinion, I think SK, the later this game goes, the better chance they'll have. They'll get through these shields quicker and quicker. The healing won't be as much of a problem as Cauterize and things like that come online, but the Wrecker is definitely the big key here for them. And hopefully Random Noob stays cold, so to speak, this game, because if he starts to catch fire, as well as Rock Monkey continuing to play as well as he has, then hope definitely dwindles here for SK.
And Dragon Punch is back up, so for the next round, if he's able to, that's kind of one of those things that could trigger him just getting on fire. If he does find an opportunity, slam into the enemy tank and then go from there. But I liked the way that Invocal was handling some of these situations, particularly on the early part of the push. It's just they couldn't really break that final barrier.
A lot of great moments there for SK Gaming. A lot of those flanks paying off. Shady and Invocal combining for top 2 damage spots here, 55 and 53 damage. The girl power between them, 6 and 5, 8 and 3 for the Leon and Cassie, respectively. All ultimates available for both sides here as we enter round number 3, but ultimates have not been a huge determining factor. I'm going to be honest here. The enlightenments have been big at times, but that's about it. I haven't seen many other game changers.
Yeah, you see moments where Dread Serpent brings out the Dome Shield, but then everybody walks away just fine. So it's more of just then taking it off the table for later rather than actually getting something in that moment. But now everyone's held on to them so far. Envy 33% on the points. Shady taking a little bit of damage right to the face, but has Dom before the heal up. And Wi-Fi makes his rotation in a bit earlier than he's been able to in past, but a little too low on HP to do so confidently.
Yeah, he's about out of power siphon juice as well. Still comeback mechanic enabled for SK Gaming, but they're struggling to get onto the objective. Bitey still finds the first kill despite a very passive approach for SK Gaming this round.
All right, Shady Shades gets
Nice
the trade
grab.
out. There's another one, and Vocal picks it up onto Tolki. And you don't have Genos right now, so no sustain, no frontliner for you. Just Shady Shades and Drogos. Or not Shady Shades, Shaolin and Drogos. What am I talking about? 93% for SK Gaming, and they're able to capture, because no one was there. Once they took out Rubu, what are you really going to do as the backline on Envy?
A very weird fight from Envy, in my opinion. You know, they're still sitting on 4 of their ultimates. They didn't really get blown out of the water by any means there, but just a lack of willingness to, I think, go after that fight, really. And it is comeback mechanic for SK, so it's hard to commit into that. Maybe they're looking to just slow play this. This is a game that I think everybody assumes Envy will win, but you can see they take each game one at a time. They tell us this all the time in their interviews, and they're not going to underestimate SK by any means, so they're going to do this by the book. As quick or as long as it takes, they'll get it done.
And I feel like that last point really showed how much time they're willing to take, as you said, because all they used was A's. Everything else is up. If they really, really wanted to try and pour it in to end it in that moment, they would have used more resources. But I think recognizing as soon as Drogos was taken out early by Bitey, and then everything was a little bit of a stagger in the way those skills were coming out, then a little bit too disoriented to be able to ensure some victory with those ults.
Is Invoker running like a increased disengage knockback on this Cassie? Because he has really been tossing people. I saw Random Noob go absolutely flying once. And no, that's just going to be base. That's incredible.
Just his personal power.
I guess so, man.
He willed it to be true, and it's happened. Here's another Dragon Punch. This
Again,
one.
it's called off.
Yep, not quite connecting, and he's been just going to the air every single time, not getting punished for that lack of placement as well. But 50 seconds to go on this push. SK finding themselves at the same choke that they did last time. A nice hit onto Mr. Hayes. He got really aggressive with Tolki there, pushing all the way forward, collapsed upon despite being behind that shield. But Rock Monkey, he's ready to go ahead and throw it at them. Double kill.
Almost picks off War Doom long distance as well. You can see that's one of probably the longest lines of sights on Jaguar Falls from this little window down to the Jaguar statue itself. He's finding some shots onto Invocal, but Cassie not afraid to trade at this distance. She's got just about as good of a chance as Shaolin, I would say, from here. No fall off on either of those characters. 12 seconds on the clock. Yeah, bow for bow, blow for blow. SK Gaming, 10 seconds to get this done. 10 seconds to get it into overtime. Maybe a lucky pick will come their way.
Maybe, but I don't see any of the rotation that's going to make that happen just yet. You have Tolki right there in the center area, Rock Monkey blocking off the side, and Rubu on the opposite end. So everything is blockaded. The only way for SK Gaming to get through is if they manage to out-trade some of the members. But Rock Monkey, look at that rotation, knew exactly where Bitey went with that low HP, got that final hit into him, and Vocal has to roll away and eventually pays the price nonetheless.
And that's so much attention. There was essentially 4 people looking at this little window, and that's just so much room for the rest of Envy to work with there. Random Noob able to pick up a couple of great kills there, clean up one that Rock was unable to find. But still a relatively quiet performance from one of my self-proclaimed best blasters in North America on one of his best characters, on one of his best maps. Tough matchups, like we said, not an easy thing to fight into in the Leon, who Shady Shades is having a great game, and Vocal's having a great game as well. And Cassie may as well be just as close to hit scan on Jaguar Falls. The distance she has to shoot to Drogos doesn't result in a lot of lead necessary, so you can pretty much just hit him head on and and do a decent job. But Paulie definitely has room to improve so far in this game. And in all of Envy, it's definitely a more passive approach to this game for sure.
Especially looking at game 1 where it was just so dominating. But they were actually kind of passive in that game too. Just worked out consistently because they stuck to their guns through every fight. But here's the Heat Haze. Rotates around to find the Zen. Looking for another hit. The Dread Serpent adds some protection for Bitey to be able to escape this situation. But Envy nonetheless have put themselves onto the point with the Dome Shield. And Mr. Hayes trying to get those heals onto Rubu, who just slams right into the face.
Gabby, nobody died in that.
Nope.
Like, something like 8 ultimates were casted there, and not a single person died. That was really incredible to see. Envy take a 2-for-1 when it's all said and done here, but it's 54-27 on the objective. Now, half comeback mechanic for SK Gaming. They definitely still have a chance here, but very, very strange engagements all game long from these two teams.
It is a little weird because I feel like whenever there have been all those ultimates, they're all very reactive, so it's not even just to try and get the kill after that first one. Everything just cancels out the lasting cast. 87%, Random Noob gets this onto Invocal, 2 down, no backline for SK Gaming. All they have are this Zin to try and make his way through, but he's actually collapsed in the corner. Random Noob with a triple kill.
There it is.
And here is Reanimate with an attempt a little bit off there on the third time in space. But hey, in the end, 99 for Team Envy right now, double kill from Rock Monkey, so you can just kind of wipe that. Just dust that off a little bit, Mr. Hayes. It's okay.
Yeah.
Your team got it in the end.
A little antsy on the trigger finger there.
Yeah, it was very clearly trying to catch the Reanimate after he popped back up, but a little too soon.
Yeah, slow and steady wins the race there for Team Envy. Coming alive at the end there, Random Noob picks up 3, but up until that point, he was about even. Doesn't land a single Dragon Punch all game, but they still get the W.
And that's what matters in the end, right? If you get the W so you can get the victory to get to land. But it was a little weird. I think them making the decision to be okay with the game lasting longer, even when they had all these ultimates they held on to until later. But could be one game away from the victory. So let's send it on over to the Party Boys.
Hey, Party Boys time. Got to liven it up because you guys were so boring that we now need to have some extra dance moves going on, Core. And go! That's what I'm talking about. See, that's what the Party Boys do that you guys can't compete with. I don't know how to say it.
I had to think. I was like, okay, they can only see upper body, and I have to flail fast.
You should have seen his feet, too, though. They were incredible. Oh, my God. What a game. Mr. Hayes, we're not going to talk about that through time and space at the end. We're not going to mention that. I'm not going to bring it up.
I wanted to mention it a little.
I'm not going to talk about it at all. I'm not going to bring up Mr. Hayes' through time and space at the end. A little early, but I'm not going to say anything about it.
They're, and the song Eye of the Tiger. I know this because I went to Clemson, mascot's the tiger, right? And playing in pep band.
The Eye of the Tiger.
At the very beginning,
dun, dun,
they do the standard,
dun,
like,
dun,
that.
dun, dun, dun.
But then the second time it comes around, there's a slight pause.
Dun, dun, dun.
And every single time, someone always misses it. That was someone missing that
That
pause
was
to
that
me. That's
slight
what that
pause.
was, where it's like, everyone knew when you needed to hit, and it was just a little bit early.
Great story. Great story. I love how you took your Clemson Eye of the Tiger band song
And related it to
and related it
Paladins.
to the Mr. Hayes through time and space we're not talking about. Notice how we haven't talked about it.
At all.
At all.
I'm sorry, what are we not talking about?
The Mr. Hayes through time and
just
space.
mentioned it.
Yeah. No, we're not talking about it.
Oh, okay.
You needed to know what we weren't talking about. Anyways, we love the Envy Boys. Nothing to be wrong. There's nothing to be upset about here because everything's going well swimmingly, as I would say, for you. And it's summer, so swimming is a good thing for sure, especially you have some time to not have a lot of pressure on you. And so far, SK, although providing a little bit of pressure in that one, even getting around there in the middle of the game, not able to just slow the roll. And Envy, I think, know that this is the time to put their foot down, put the nail in the coffin, so to speak. And they have definitely brought the sledgehammer today. Maps here for game number 3. It's Timber Mill. And oh boy, all the tricks coming out this time for them.
I don't... Actually, not true. I actually remember exactly the last time I saw Timbermill. It was a little over a week ago because North America PGS Finals were able to bring us here. So it's not something that is completely outlandish, but I feel like this is something, again, when you're looking at teams like SK, like how do we change this up? How do we get to the point where we can find a win, at least on a map, to steady ourselves to figure out the rest of the set?
Absolutely. So as we dubstep our way into the picks and bans here, very appropriate for this moment and the intense nature of this set. I think it's time to talk about that first pick, Buck.
It's strong.
Strong.
On this map. I'm kind of curious. Like, I think, you know, like we look at Serpent Beach, I'm always looking at SK. How much leg day is he running?
Yeah.
Or does he care about that at all? Is he going to be looking for those jumps, or is he just going to be kind of wandering around the map? I think this is a good one for Buck, just because, again, jumping roof to roof, you get in the face of a sniper real fast.
You know, Timber Mill is a map that I don't think any player in Paladins wants to play on. Almost ever.
I get that one urge every now and then where it's like, I haven't seen Timber Mill in like 6 months.
You know, and
then I see it once and then I'm done.
Slow enough for me. It couldn't come slow enough.
That's Ice Mines for me now.
I played too many games of Paladins to be able to say that I'm happy when I see Timber Mill. And it's just one of those where, you know that it is just going to be a long game. You know usually that you could get outdrafted, outplayed in one moment, and it's over, and you have 5 minutes where you have a chance to contest again, basically. It's tough. It's definitely a tough map, but, this is one that at a competitive level, you have to suck it up and say, I need to be able to have an answer and a strategy to deal with whatever people bring at me here, whether it's a sniper or whether it's just an insane amount of pressure.
Well, since snipers are banned, I like the idea that Envy's gone. Okay, well, we can't have Kinessa. You can't have Strix. We're going to go in and just grab the 2 flanks that we know can do a lot. Buck being able to kind of close that gap really well. Maeve can do that as well, but Maeve has pretty good long-range damage, so you're kind of flexing on it. But SK, I think they finally get 2 things that feel comfortable. That's the Shaolin, that's the Drogos.
It's a tall task, I'll say this. They got the Khan, the Drogos, though, Shaolin and Leon. It's a very, very damaging lineup here on Timber Mill. Let's see if SK can turn this one around against Envy.
All right, Timber Mill. You ready?
Wow, yeah. I was born ready for Timber Mill. You got to warm up.
We don't get to do it very often.
Well, you
get
see,
myself psyched.
when you drop Lumberfall every single game and you bathe in the blood of your enemies time and time again, nothing really scares you, I think, at that point. So Timber Mill, walk in the park compared to what I've seen at Lumberfall.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I ain't scared of it. I always like a.
You're getting ready. I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a lot to handle. It's a lot on the plate, but it's nothing I ain't ever seen before here. No snipers. Kind of pros and cons for both of these compositions here. I don't know how the con's going to work out here. I have never seen a con played on Timber Mill. It's because Timber Mill, you get to see this maybe 3 times a year, if that. I don't think Con succeeds here very well doing what he is traditionally used to doing. You're going to have to maybe babysit what is a superior backline, I think. You have the range, you have the Shaolin, the Leon to be able to poke out safely against this Team Envy. However, Envy have a lot of power picks, a lot of power comps here between the Maeve, the Buck, the Genos, and of course Random on his Bomb King. A lot of punch here, and they have the superior point frontliner, so it'll be interesting to watch who's able to win the battle in the trenches and the battle on the back line.
They for sure want to get in your face, Envy.
Ooh, Bitey and Shady both drop down from high ground, though, Gabby.
Oh, no, there's first blood. You drop down and into the grave. Random noob punishing that positioning right there. That's a pretty rough way to start it off, because on Timbermill, you do get extremely punished for the fact that if you're taken off early, 63% already, because he got a Nara at it as well.
Exactly.
That one pick made such a difference.
And that might be the only pick. Gabriella Wi-Fi, he's get close here. Actually gets his commander's grab body blocked by Buck. And that guarantees the payload through for Team Envy, 100-0. And that's a beautiful little poetic trade there between Invocal and Rock Monkey. And you can talk about the gameplay or the map layout changes, so to speak, that Timbermill has faced. This little here, that little gap in the fence, is what I think prevents Shady and Bitey from wanting to play on the high ground all point long. My question is that they didn't play it at all. They almost instantaneously dropped down. And it is very predictable. It's punishable, so to speak, for this Maid to just throw daggers, Bomb King to throw bombs, so to speak. But SK jumped before any pressure even arrived. So I'll be curious to see if they adjust their strategy moving forward.
It's not uncommon to see somebody drop down. We've seen a Strix on the high ground, then willingly drop down to actually use the pistol. But right now, Envy, they don't care where you are. They're going to get the kills anyway. Random noob with the double. Everybody's up except for Shady Shades because he was taken out earlier. And now on this defense, with a whole minute and a half to go, you're not going to need it because, as you can see, little bars of red just so far away from the actual payload.
And this is SK's map pick here. We're on loser's pick, game number 3. The loser of game number 2 will select it. Random noob, 4-0 start for him. Much better than that Drogos game on Jaguar Falls here. And like we said, I've maybe seen 0 PPL games. We'll just put that out there. 0 PPL games on Timbermill to my knowledge. and the last time it had to have been in the PGS, and we may have seen the map once since the gameplay changes for this map actually came through. A couple of flank routes were shut down, and that high ground adjustment that I was talking about earlier where the fence post comes almost all the way, almost closing off the whole high ground where you can sit there safely. There's just kind of one little box, one little cube where you can safely peek.
But now SK going into round number 2, that was so quick in round number 1, they barely got to get any more itemization online. Right now, sticking a bit longer to this high ground, but someone like Anara can just try and distract for as long as possible while the rest of the team sets up. Invocal in pursuit of that backline. Random Noob does fall to the hands of this Shaolin, so that leaves a bit of an opening for SK to step onto the point, now passing 30%.
And, you know, I don't mind that adjustment there from SK. You know, that positioning went so well for Random Noob the first time. He got the first and only pick needed for that capture point to come through. And so why wouldn't he just go right back to it? SK punished that, read it beautifully. Nice moves here from Invocal again on the Drogos. Standing up for SK and giving them a chance.
Unable to pop off in game number 1, but game number 2, it's going nicely. There's the Dragon Punch, actually works around to avoid through time and space, lands right into Rubu. Baidi comes to the low ground in response to hold this objective, 97%, and Team Envy can't say anything about it, so SK keep themselves in the game.
I think a total of 5 or 6 kills there. Invocal getting either 4 or 5 of them, all but the first one that Baidi helped out to, and Invocal was even there to assist on that. Random Noob is able to come out on top of the 1v1 there, but that's really been the story for SK. Most of their success, little and few and far between as it's been in these past couple of weeks, has come off the back of Invocal's Drogos.
The lock-in right there. Baidi couldn't go anywhere. He had Tolki and Rakugi just ready to punish him completely. But at least
his positioning's been weird for me today. That's the second time we're seeing him kind of caught out on this wild goose chase on Shaolin by himself. We saw on Splitstone Quarry with Strix, he was the furthest pushed out member of SK Gaming, getting caught, shot in the back of the head by tanks, and when you get snuck up on, you know, by Terminus, it's a bit of an issue. And just kind of weird stuff from the captain of SK today.
Yeah, and when on a map like this, as we said before, all they needed was one pick early on that was onto Shady Shades. But if you're not able to, as Shaolin, keep yourself around a bit more to, even if you don't get the kills, at least poke enough so that you force Envy back into hiding a little bit, then right now they're able to just aggress forward in this manner. You see, double kill because Wardum and Shady Shades were in nowhere near a healthy state. Another kill onto Baidi, and Tolki is just allowed to free fire across the board onto SK Gaming.
They're going to stagger out Wi-Fi as Tolki stops throwing daggers just to spray and tactically keep this tank separated from his team. And it's not objectively wrong for a Shaolin to be playing aggressively, so you know you have to give credit there to Baidi where you know that is a viable way to do it. But it's just not working out, I think, so far. And you typically don't want to be the first one in. He's more of the last one out in that last engagement, but SK just need to lock down a game plan, I think, here. What is their win condition? Is it picking off Random Noob every time? Is it a team-wide 2-3-man flank over on one of these sides to pick off somebody from Team Envy? But more concise gameplay here would be a good thing for them.
I think that's been the story from Game 1 all the way through Game 3. Game 1, it was a lot of the same case where it didn't feel like there was a specific plan to try and defeat the enemy. And yeah, you get the pick onto Tolki, but the payload is legit at its starting position, so Envy go up 3-1 and are 1 point away from putting home the set.
And you look at Envy, they have a pretty clear game plan, it seems like. You know, Paul, although he did get punished, he kind of did his part. He's going to go to actually right here, and he posts up, uses his right shoulder peek just to get some information on this SK backline, probably just doing a lot of communicating. Rubu goes straight to the objective, throws up the wall, and just starts capturing and asks SK what they're going to do about it. So Envy's game plan is easier to execute, I think, because they have the point frontliner, and you always have that strategy of just go to the point and sit there and force them to make moves. And when SK are making moves, that's when they're going to be vulnerable to be countered, to look out for mistakes, things like that.
And potentially last round, lots of ultimates up for SK, including things like the Dragon Punch, which last time was very effective to take down Rubu, despite even through time and space being used to try and discourage him. So you can get a similar play this time around. But Envy, see, very clear. You send Ruby towards the objective. Everyone else is hiding. Midnight comes on out, looks for a target, but unable to rotate effectively just yet. Rock Monkey onto the side, high ground. A nice hit right into the corner for a stun. Onto the Drogos, and Vocal is punished for it. 51% on to this point, and Wi-Fi goes down as well. Missing 2 key members on the side of SK Gaming, and everybody else is backed off into oblivion.
I'd love to watch that Inara ultimate again, just to get a firm grasp on the angle that was played there. 3-1's the scoreline. Team Envy could just put this game away here and now, and they will. And it's just a very kind of cut and dry game there. There's the punch, the counter punch, and then the counter to the counter, right? Random Noob, he goes to his spot, he gets his information, he gets the first blood. That captures the point, seals the 2-0 round for Envy. Next time, it's a 3-man flank over there for SK. It works out. Random Noob dives because, you know, it worked out so well for him. Why wouldn't he go back to that? And then the same thing is said again. You know, that worked out so well for SK Gaming. Why not do that again, right? But then Envy are more prepared for it this time around, and they win that fight. And it's that fight taking place on that little area, that right-hand-sided flank, was really the determining factor for all 3 of these rounds.
Yep. So with that, Envy, congratulations on your defeat against SK Gaming. So let's send it back over to the desk to tell us about that.
Well, congratulations on your victory against SK Gaming, I think is what she meant.
Congratulations on your defeat.
On your defeat against SK Gaming. I think congratulations on the fact that you defeated SK Gaming is really the sentiment there. We knew what you meant. But just, you know,
we got there.
Having some fun here
Eventually.
on the desk. You got to have a good time. Obviously, you know, we all come here to see some great games, and I'm going to be cut and dry. Wasn't a very competitive set. We expected that. It had to be that way because they had to 3-0 because they were the only team in this set that had a chance to go to LAN. And if they let games slip, that could hurt them in this matchup against Renegades, which now, Gore, you know, we're hearing is pretty much going to decide who's going to LAN.
You have one set against a team that admittedly has been getting much better over the course of the split. You've been, I want to say, on kind of shaky ground so far as Envy. I think they finally found that like solid rock they wanted to be standing on once again, but there's been a lot of moments, especially from Renegades, that have been stellar.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to Friday.
Well, you know, talking about today, man, I mean, it's been such a good performance from across the board, but we heard the interview from him, and he showed up big as well. Tolki is really a phenomenal player, growing into one of my favorites to watch and continue to be excellent for his team. And it's the guys that sometimes are quiet but do the right things. That, to me, I really admire, especially when he's taking on these damage roles as well as these frontline roles. It's really rare to see that style of confidence, to see that flexibility in a player, and he showed it today.
And that's that thing I think that has brought Envy the comfort that they needed to become a team that is, you know, vying for first seed, vying for wins at LANs. Someone who can flex around. It's like, okay, we need you to play Maeve this game, Terminus the next game. Similar to how you look at Bugsy, when it's like, all right, well, we need you to play like Maeve or Talus or Khan or Terminus. Having that really deep champion pool where it's just like, you are a good enough player to play everything.
Yeah.
Makes it easier for your team. And I think Tolki is fast approaching that kind of area.
I feel like you need a guy like that if you're going to really win championships. You know, if you're going to have moments where you're against a team that forces you to be awkward in the draft because they've got first pick or a meta develops, that just means whoever gets this opportunity first or second to ends up winning. You need a guy who's going to be able to do the dirty work and flex for you, and that's what Tolki seems to be for Envy. Envy in a good spot here for the end of the week to have a great set against Renegades and maybe make LAN, Renegades vice versa. We're going to be going into G2 and Splice right after this short break, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you back for some more PPL.